My dad, Colin, loved to be creative when it came to our lunchbox creations, and this was one of them. It was actually really delicious. It's a tuna and olive loaf. So instead of having a tuna sandwich, you would have this delicious loaf. Serve it with a salad or a little dollop of crème fraîche. It was a true delight, and I still make it to this day. So the first up, we need to make the batter for the loaf. So some plain flour into a bowl, and some baking powder for that lift, and also some dried oregano. You could also use some mixed herbs for this. So we're going to give that a mix to combine those ingredients, make a little well in the center, and now we're going to add the eggs. So you'll need 4 eggs for this recipe, and we'll break them in one by one. Now we're using some olives and feta to flavor up this, but you could obviously change that up significantly. You could add different cheeses like goat's cheese, that also works really well with tuna. Even some sun-dried tomatoes Dad used to use sometimes. So now the eggs are in, we'll just break them up in the center. And I just always like doing this just so there's not too many lumps. So now for some more liquid, we'll need some milk. I'll incorporate that. And to make this loaf super moist, I'm adding some olive oil. So we need about 150 mils of olive oil, and I'll just measure it out in the same jug as the milk. 150 mils to be precise. Perfect. And we'll incorporate that too. Okay. Now we want to bring in the sides of that flour and really incorporate that. And you want to make the base of the loaf first before you start adding in all the lovely ingredients to flavour it up. Just give that a really quick whisk so there's no lumps. Oh, perfect consistency. Now to give it a bit of piquancy, Dad's secret ingredient, a little bit of hot English mustard. So in with that, and just ensure that that is incorporated well. You don't want a big lump of hot English mustard. And now for the tuna, you'll need 185 grams of tuna. Use a good quality tuna. I'm also using a tuna that's in spring water, so it's not too oily. And what I like to do is just flake it up, not too fine. I do like little chunks of the tuna in this loaf. Okay, and we're just going to use a spatula now, just so we don't overwork that batter, and we'll fold that in along with some olives. I love the pop of saltiness from the olives, and some feta. So for the feta, we'll just break that up and crumble it with our fingers. Okay, finally a few more herbs, some fresh herbs this time, some parsley. I also like the addition of some spring onions. So we'll just cut them in half. Dark and white part, we'll just thinly slice them. If you like, you could also change up the spring onions to chives. They work really nicely too. In they go. And a few sprigs of parsley. I'll take the stalks off, and again, we'll just scrunch all of that up together and finally chop it. Okay, just run your knife through it a few times. Last little thing I like to add to this is some freshly cracked pepper, and we are good to go. You see how fast it is to bring together. We'll fold everything together. It's pretty good. And now it goes into a tin. Now I like to use a loaf tin for this. Oil it with just a bit of oil spray and then a bit of baking paper just to make it easier to take out once it's cooked. We'll place this into our tin, and then it goes into the oven. I've set my temperature to a moderate temperature, 180 degrees, and this will cook for about 40 to 45 minutes, or until a skewer is inserted into the center and it comes out clean. This lovely tuna loaf is out of the oven. Do allow it to cool slightly before slicing into it. I'll take the sides off, and we'll take that out carefully. Oh, and look at that. Wonderful golden colour, just right. This is super delicious served warm, but of course you can serve it cold or at room temperature. It is that adaptable. I'll just take the crust off. Look at that, see how moist it is, and you can see the speckles of tuna and the olives and the feta. It's such a great savoury loaf. So a nice chunky piece of this, because it is for a lunch. We'll place it onto a plate. And if you want to zhuzh it up, which is what I'm going to do today, why not serve it with some sour cream or even better, some crème fraîche. A lovely little dollop on the top of this. And it's a bit of a play on the sensations. You look at that and go, oh, is that a sweet loaf or a savoury? Then you bite into it and it's a really lovely savoury loaf. Some parsley. I've got this little micro parsley today, so why not put that over the top? And that is a beautiful lunch brought to you by my dad, Colin, a tuna, olive and feta loaf. It is seriously delicious. And here's another tip. After you've cooked it, if you don't want to use the whole lot straight away, pop it into the freezer, bring it out, slice it, and then warm it up. It's delicious. You can use it for a really quick snack or, like I said, a lunchbox filler.